Hi everyone, it's Sonia here. So I'm here to give you the roundup. It's been another big week for Quebec. Some very interesting outcomes. First of all, our health minister and premier have backed off and have decided not to make vaccines mandatory for healthcare workers after all. So that's the big news. And there have been some other developments as well. If you like the video, thank you for hitting like and for subscribing, and thank you also for your support on Patreon. That keeps my channel going. Don't forget to subscribe to my new BitChute also. And in case you haven't stocked up yet, now it's a good time to stock up because, as you know, the ports are jammed in the US. There's starting to be some very real supply shortages. The Chinese government has told their people to stock up. Stocking up is a good idea. So if you haven't done it yet, I want to let you know that if you use the link below, you can get $50 off a 4-week supply of MREs from My Patriot Supply. This is food that is specially packaged to last 25 years, so it's ready when you need it. And if you buy a 3-month supply, you can get $200 off. So check out the link below for more information and a discount. So first of all, the big news. Vaccines won't be mandatory for existing Quebec healthcare workers, only new hires. So wow, you can imagine how embarrassing it must have been for Legault and Dubé to have to throw in the towel and say, "Okay, anti-vaxxers, you win this time. Ah, c'est tabarnak, les anti-vax." The fact was that our system has been understaffed for a very long time. And they said they had reached 97% vaccination rate, at least in the public sector. So it was very, very few people who refused. But they couldn't even put this through with 3%. That's how stretched resources are already with all the staff that they do have. They couldn't lose anyone. That's what they said. They couldn't afford to lose anyone, and they will be subjected instead to rigorous testing 3 times a week. Many people did go out and get their shots, but not 100%. Well, you guys know about this because I've been covering it for a while, so I won't go over everything. But it would have involved a complete reorganization of staff, and that would have especially affected the nursing homes. The lawyer, Natalia Manoli, who challenged the mandate in court, says she's happy. She says, "I think that the government basically did not have a choice. I'm surprised that this situation was not actually examined before the decree was made. How come just now, a few days before it's supposed to be applied, they were able to basically access the information that led them to backtrack on this intention?" Yeah, how could they have not known? Here is this was the case. Quebec court hears stay request on mandatory vaccination for healthcare workers. So that happened at the end of October, beginning of November. And the Superior Court Judge, Michel Yargaud, began hearing arguments for an injunction Wednesday and said he will render a decision November 15th, regardless of what the government decides. So before this court case even went through and this decision was rendered on the 15th, which was the deadline for the mandatory vaccinations, the government just backed off. I told you they were holding a bad hand of cards. I told you it was a big bluff. They couldn't afford to lose anyone. Anyway, some people are happy about this. Some people are not happy. While we're on the subject of the healthcare workers, okay, I am myself considered a healthcare worker. I'm a home care worker, and I got this letter. This was the first communication. Actually, my employer got this. This was the first communication that we got concerning mandatory vaccination for home care workers such as myself in all this time. I mean, unless something came in the mail and we didn't see it for some reason. But as far as I know, this was the first one that we got. And this was dated October 28th. So supposed to be that I will have to prove my vaccine status, immediately? As of October 28th, or I get fired on November 15th. I mean, that's a very last minute. So they explained to my employer that because of this ministerial order, the measure has been postponed to November 15th. What does this mean? As employer of a CES employee, that's me, your responsibility include the obligation to ensure that your CES employee is adequately protected effective November 15, 2021. The obligation to contact the CLSC if there's a break in services due to a CES employee not adequately protected. So first of all, that puts the onus, the responsibility on my employer. So this means like disabled people and seniors, and that would include like someone with Alzheimer's or a brain injury or like a severely disabled person. They get this letter. The CLSC didn't coordinate. The CLSC never called me, never called my employer to ask about my status. They never, in all this time, we never had a call, we never had a letter. My employer, the disabled person, was supposed to read this and then contact. They don't even really tell you where you're, like, who are you supposed to contact? Contact the CLSC? I don't know. They didn't really say, but it was my employer was supposed to do this. And he's supposed to contact the clinic if there's a break in the service. You think there's going to be a break if I'm not there anymore? Not just for me, but everyone who's getting service like what I'm providing for. I know that for anyone who's receiving this kind of service, it's hard to find employees. It is very hard to replace employees. There's not like this giant database, this bank that you can just go to and just pick a new person. You know, it's not like, you know, hiring a cleaning lady or you know, getting your carpets cleaned or snow removal. It's not like that. And the relationship that someone like I have with my client, it tends to be actually like the home care, the caregiver and care receiver relationship. Once you have someone who's taking care of you, and this goes on for years, you tend to get very close. You tend to know the person's needs very, very well. They become very comfortable with their caregiver or caregivers. So imagine if you have a break in service for all the beneficiaries who have home care workers who are not vaccinated. So from one day to the next, it says here that it's because of the law, they have to validate the vaccination status. They say that it's the law. You have to do this. You cannot have this person working for you. So imagine if they do that, they lose their caregiver. Who's going to take that caregiver's place? Who's going to find them a new caregiver? You're going to make all these disabled people have to go and find someone? It's really not that easy. It's actually very difficult. Who's going to do it? Is the CLSC going to do it? You're saying that now the clinic system is going to suddenly take over the care of all these people? You know, it's not realistic at all. It's completely impossible. I mean, that's why they pay us to take care of people in the community, because they need us to do that. There's nobody who can just replace us just like that. Employing a healthcare worker not adequately protected goes against the law as defined by the Public Health Act. So what are you saying? What are you going to do if a person has an unvaccinated employee? What are you going to do? Give them a ticket to the employer? Are you going to arrest the employer? Like, what is the consequence? They just have to lose their caregiver, and then good luck finding a replacement. I mean, really, like, this was the first time I saw this letter today, and I was like, holy crap, that was really last minute. I was kind of wondering how come we didn't get any information, and that's totally crazy. It would have been an absolute shit show, because when they talk about healthcare workers in the media, people tend to think about nurses and people working in hospitals, maybe also in the private sector, in the retirement homes, or maybe in agencies. They're not really even realizing that there are thousands of people that work under CES for people just privately, like as home care workers without an agency. And yeah, I mean, it's just totally insane. I think they made the right move. I think it's better this way. It's going to protect the public more than having all these people lose their staff. That would have been insane. And they're going to test people. Okay, enough about that. So more news for Quebec. Dancing and karaoke are to return to Quebec bars, and high school students can ditch masks. The government actually says you can start standing again in a bar, because the rule was if you were in a bar, you had to get your drink and then sit down and stay sitting. You literally were not allowed to stand in a bar. Well, now you have permission to stand and also to dance and to sing. How generous of our government. Isn't that nice? Also, yes, the secondary students no longer have to wear masks in class, and the bars and restaurants will no longer be keeping a register.